And for whatever reason, it seems this year, young people are more willing to have those conversations than ever before, even if that means having them at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Jezzamine Wolk from Campus Reform took to the campus of George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, to ask students about this very topic.
And do you think this year more than ever it's important to bring up those hard topics at the dinner table?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about. Most definitely, especially with everything going on.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's important.
See what the family thinks, see the different views.
Joining us now for additional input on what kids on college campuses are saying and how this could play into your Thanksgiving routine is Jezzamine Wolk, a reporter for Campus Reform that you just saw in that prior video there. So Jezzamine, first of all, I want to say welcome to the program, but also I think that video is very telling in a lot of ways. It got a lot of diverse thoughts brought in there. People who say sometimes they do share their political opinion with their families, sometimes they disagree, but really how to bring it up on Thanksgiving. So I want to start about what kids want to do. Are they open to talking about politics at Thanksgiving?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, Alex. I mean, we're seeing a growing divide between the younger generation and the older generation when it comes to these hot button political topics. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk to college students about those awkward political conversations that tend to come up on holidays if they thought it was time to have those conversations. So I headed to George Mason University, and what I found was overwhelmingly, these students said, it is time to initiate these conversations at the dinner table and to convert what they called their older, more conservative family members to become more progressive. And it just goes to show that this generation will use any opportunity they can to push this leftist agenda, even Thanksgiving, because these social justice warriors just can't take a break.
So that's very interesting to me, actually, because, you know, growing up, for example, I'm from a divided household politically, so this would be something that was a little bit more commonplace, and my grandma would always, for example, tell us to shut up, stop talking about politics. I just thought that was something that happened, but when it comes to these people, for example, that you've talked to, what is the intent of them bringing it up where perhaps in the past they have not? Is it about forming an understanding? Is it about persuading other people? What are they looking to do necessarily?
Oh, they're not here to hear or try to have an exchange of ideas. They're here for conversion. These students this age group is always in this mentality that they need to be an activist, right? And now it's affecting even the time with their family at the dinner table. And they can't even have that sacred time with their family. And the Leadership Institute's Campus Forum has covered this. We just covered this actually at the University of Virginia. There was actually a student paper that published a piece from a student that said that students should stand up to what she calls their racist family members at Thanksgiving. And this isn't just isolated to Thanksgiving, mind you. A few years ago, Harvard University handed out placemats to their students that guided these students on how to have these tough conversations with their conservative family members. And they even offered topics of possible topics such as Islamophobia and Black Lives Matter. So again, these activists just see the dinner table as another battleground in their crusade.
And it's a little bit ironic because I think the phrase that used to be said is you never talk about religion, politics, money, something like that at the dinner table. That does not apply, I think, in 2020. It seems like all of those type of topics are on the table right now. But what do you think is fueling students in order to want to have these conversations? Is it the idea that they are on a campus and they are in an environment where thought is incentivized? Or I guess you could use that very, however you want to interpret that. Certain thought, I guess, would you say was incentivized. But why do you think is really fueling this right now?
At the end of the day, it comes down to the demonization of conservatives. So this age group in the classroom is consistently being told that conservatives are racists and Nazis and fascists. And I mean, we just saw this at Clemson University, a professor who said that anyone who supported Trump or called themselves a Republican was a racist. So you have to think, when you are this age group and you're consistently being told that conservatives are out to get you and conservatives are evil, it's not surprising that these people who feel the need to be an activist at every moment and a social justice warrior take it upon themselves to be the hero and try to silence or shame the other side.
And I think that there's a question as to if this is happening more so than it used to, or if we just have more access to the information. For example, I would not have been able to see your video most likely 20 years ago, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's good when you can get more type of information. We're more readily connected. You can share that video to hundreds and thousands of people, for example, who can see that type of information. So do you think this is an increasing type of phenomenon, or do you think that, for example, we just have more access to the information, and that's why it becomes a more hotly contested topic?
Listen, this age group is known, again, for this activist mindset, and they're always passionate about various issues. But what we're seeing recently is that it's taking on a more aggressive approach, whereas they will be an activist, whether the timing is appropriate, whether it's respectful. I mean, a few years ago at the Harvard-Yale football game, do we remember those climate protesters rushing onto the field with their signs and chants? And it's not just football games. We saw at San Francisco State, students blocking off every on-campus ATM because of Wells Fargo's ties to the Dakota Access Pipeline. And what's concerning is sometimes this activism turns violent. I mean, at Northwestern, nearly 200 students gathered to call to abolish the police. And guess what? They ended up throwing bricks. And I'm not saying that these students are going to turn to violence at the Thanksgiving dinner table. I'm just trying to point to the fact that these students think that they're being the hero by trying to silence conservatives.
No, and it's been going on for years now. I mean, I think back to UC Berkeley, for example, when things turned violent there. That was back in 2016. So it's been happening for years now. And we're reaching a point, too, where, for example, you and I have talked about this. Harvard has some students saying that they don't want Trump campaign officials or Trump administration officials being able to speak or teach there. I mean, that's just the beginning of it, not to mention the acts against conservatives that we've covered on this show before. So in your opinion, how do you combat this?
At the end of the day, we need to pay attention to what's happening in these college classrooms. We need to hold these professors accountable that are demonizing conservatives, because these students have only been exposed to one point of view. So how can we blame them when they think that they're being taught that we're the bad ones? At the end of the day, they need to be exposed to both sides so that they can learn how to critically think and make that decision for themselves. Because guess what? In the real world, there's going to be more than one point of view.
Yeah, diversity of thought is a good thing. It challenges ideas, even good ideas, but even bad ones as well. But I guess this is an important topic that a lot of people might see firsthand in the next coming days. Jezzamine Wolk, it's always a pleasure having you on this program. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving, a mild-mannered one, no too hotly contested political conversations, anything like that. But thanks for coming on the program tonight.
Same to you, Alex. Thanks.